go.
Welcome to the podcast that buffs your Hearthstone game. This is Velen's Chosen.
Not all who wander are lost.
Greetings, visionaries. Welcome to Velen's Chosen. This is episode 166. Shirvallah for taste. What's up, guys? My name's Rob. I'm all the way out in Japan this fine winter morning. Nice and brisk. A little bit of frosty frost out on the outside, and it's not just breakfast cereal. We also have your good friend and mine, Grant Gould, in Texas. What's up, Grant?
Hey, amigo. It's actually not frosty here, but it's actually nice. Honestly, a lot of people don't think about this, but Rob, you probably remember old folks in the north during the winter, they'd go down to Florida.
Florida.
Florida. And the best kept secret is that Texas is actually a really nice place to be during the winter because, well, frankly,
It's dry.
It's not humid. It's dry. It does rain a little bit, but it's not bad. And it's like a day like today, it was like upper 60s, low 70s. It was just a nice day to be outside and enjoy the weather.
Beautiful.
So, Weatherstone for the day, folks.
Weatherstone. So what we're going to be doing this week, guys, is I'm not going to be botching my intro, which happened on the live stream last week. But this week we're going to be doing is Velen's Chosen, and we're basically a podcast about helping the competitive player play the game and enjoy the game. I think that's kind of what our whole vision is kind of melded into. We do talk about Arena, but very rarely we talk about Wild on the consistent, like, on and off, I'd say, nowadays. But basically we're just trying to help you guys have fun with the game and learn the game as we kind of teach you through some of these things and kind of discuss. Very much more discussion and combination of teaching. I'm going to be working with Grant to kind of modify that for 2019. We're going to try to keep things fresh, still kind of the same flavor, same everything. The show's not changing, basically, just kind of how we're describing it. That's about it. We also want to shout out our good buddy, Jamie S. Pseudo Ping, for sponsoring this episode. As per usual, you can sponsor us at the top level if you want to go to the patreon.com/Velen's Chosen, and you can find all the info there for sponsorships. If you guys want to support us just for a little bit, you can also do that at the same place. Grant, how has your week in Hearthstone been? Because that's pretty bound to what we're going to be talking about this week.
Well, my week in Hearthstone has actually been pretty awesome. The first week that the set dropped, so in case you've been living under a rock, Rostacon's Rumble dropped a week and a half ago. And, I was about rank 7, 8 on standard ladder. And I played and I basically camped out at 8. It was almost quite literally a 50-50 win rate. But then Wicked Good had been publishing, he'd been tinkering with Paladin, basically, Healadins and OTK Paladin, stuff like that. So I picked up his list that he had posted. I'm not sure where he got it or whatnot, but he put it in our Discord and I started playing some OTK Paladin and I started winning and winning and winning. And I won myself all the way up to rank 4 with it. Currently my record with the deck is 25-8 with OTK Paladin. And honestly, it's really, it's funny because the deck is kind of it has been a meme deck forever.
Yeah.
But now it's actually pretty good. So I've been playing it, trying to decide how much longer I want to play it. Like, is this a deck that I can get to Legend with? I know Phenom posted in Twitter that he had made Legend. It was one of the decks he had used to get to Legend this month with. So it's definitely possible. Question is it because of the newness of the meta, or is it because it's actually good and formidable against other things, which we will talk about a little more later. But actually, I've had a great week. I guess we'll just kind of transition kind of into the news. But
Sure.
The Rumble run dropped, and that's been really fun the last few days playing that. Basically, you play 8 bosses, and if you beat all 8, regardless of what class you pick, you get the card back. You just win. That's it.
One run and done if you finish.
One and done if you finish it. Now, it's not easy. I mean,
the cool thing for me with this run, guys, is that the way they've melded it is they give you a set of cards based off of which of the Loa setups that you pick up. And I think they're called spirits or something like that. Spirit of the Loa or something like that. They're not the cards that you have in your collection. There's
It's a
something
shrine.
different. It's a shrine.
They give
There
you
we
a
go.
shrine. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lowest shrine, and what it will do is it modifies visually your hero, which I can't actually remember the name. It's something similar to how Shirvallah sounds. I want to say it's like Recon or something like that. I think it's Recon.
Rakar. It's Rakar.
Rakar. So when you're playing the character, it's a basic troll model that gets modified by any of the 9 classes and puts on armor and weapons and stuff like that to look like the class that he's supposed to represent. Yeah. So depending on what you choose. Now, so far, I've only been able to see 2 separate archetypes for each class represented. So I only know of about 18 different ones. There could be one more per one, but I'm not sure if that's true. I've only seen them with my limited, 15 runs or so that I was doing just yesterday. And yes, I did 15 runs in a day just to prepare for fun, trying to figure things out. And again, it's a lot easier when you're dying and quitting or dying and losing, depending on how rage inducing you are getting, between 1 and 2 games or all the way through the 7th and 8th ones. I was able to get to the 7th and 8th boss about 3 times in just a handful of runs, so it's not too terribly difficult to get a decent run. But there's a difference between understanding a decent run and a winning run, because winning runs, your deck has to still be like the past runs that we have, where they are ridiculous decks. If your deck isn't completely ridiculous and broken, then you're not going to make it through the 8th boss. That's how it's designed. That being said, people still don't appreciate how this is. I was reading a tweet from one of the guys at Well Met, Aldorian, who's very vocal about his dislike for the last couple ones of these. And not to say anything other than that I agree with him, because he basically says it feels like you're creating a very slow arena deck, and you're running that deck in ladder. And that's what it feels like. All of these decks are super, super powerful that you're playing against after a certain point. And then you're playing with a bunch of arena cards. So I'm not quite sure, if I agree 100%, but I definitely see where he's coming from with that kind of thought process, because it definitely feels that way at some points.
I see his comment. Well, what do you think about the brevity of the solo content this time around? Because if you go all the way back to Naxxramas, solo content is just layers upon layers of bosses, and to get the special card back, you had to beat 15 bosses where you had to construct the deck. That's the long form.
You had to
and
do
then
it
you
twice.
have more modern. Yeah, you had to do it twice. First time to get the cards, and the second time to just see if you could do it. Kind of like ludicrous mode for Hearthstone.
Yeah.
And then we had the stuff like with the Witchwood and Kobolds, where you had a certain kind of characters you had to beat it with. You had to beat it with all 9 classes for Kobolds, which I still haven't done just because I don't want to waste my time.
So I've done that one. That one took a long time, but the only ones I haven't done is the one from the Witchwood. I still haven't done that one.
I did the Witchwood. I did all 4, and I did 6 out of the 9 for Kobolds. And so sometimes I play some of the dungeon runs for Kobolds. But I'll be honest, I do it for the pack, and then I get out, and then I come back later for the next pack, and I'm on boss 6, and then I lose. I'm yeah, I guess my deck wasn't going to beat this boss. So it's I have so many card backs that I really enjoy. It's I don't know if I care about this card back so much to use my time on that. You know what I mean? So for me, the brevity of the Rumble run was oh, so I only have to beat it once? Cool. I kind of like that in terms of the other ways I'd rather play Hearthstone right now, because I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but I'm actually enjoying ladder more this month than I have in the previous 3 months combined. When you're a content creator, you kind of have to try and find ways to enjoy the game if you're willing to play the game at all. So for me, I was finding that in Wild and things like that. But as far as standard ladder, it's been very enjoyable, because I honestly think the Rumble cards are just great cards, and I think once the stuff cycles out next year, I think we're gonna realize how good they actually are. So yeah, I'm just loving the fact that one and done. I know that I got to the last boss today, and I got smoked, but it didn't feel as bad as if I got smoked and then looked down the pike and had to see 9 other runs that they had to complete before I was done with the content. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think it's a wise call on their part, especially for newer players.
Now, Grant, tell me about a little bit about the brawl, because I need to do this today for my pack. And as you guys may know, we're going to use this point as a jumping off point to kind of transition into kind of how I've been playing the game without using, without buying any packs this time around. It's kind of how I'm going about this expansion. Tell me about
the brawl.
brawl.
Brawl's just deck recipes. It's pretty much pick a class and it gives you a deck recipe that they made. When I
Mage?
played it the first day, Rogue's fun. I like Rogue a lot.
Okay.
Mage is very good. Mage has Jan'alai in it. But Rogue's is all pirates, and
yeah,
I got
cannons.
burst down. I got like cannon down. I had like 21 health, and I got cannon down by a pirate person. Honestly, that cannon barrage card is so fun. I don't even know if it's good, but dang,
prep cannon, dude.
That's what
all
it is,
need.
though. You prep cannon and hit them for like 18 with cannons. It's just,
yes.
It's just that's. I mean, maybe it's not a good card in a competitive ladder deck, but dude, you can't argue.
I
with
think that is
the
the funnest
card
of the set. The most fun card that you can play is cannons, man.
It's pretty doggone fun. I won't lie.
Also, the animation that I was able to watch on some of the Trollden videos for the Captain Hook Tusk is pretty dope. This giant anchor just like slamming onto the board is pretty awesome.
I love the voice animation for Hook Tusk. I was fortunate enough, I pulled both Rogue legendaries when I was open packs. And I haven't really been able to use them because there's no decks at the moment that are really super great for them. I don't think
there's a lot
cards.
of Hook Tusk decks that were being discussed this week in Discords across both Coin Concede and Velen, so you'll have to check those out. I think they're kind of getting stifled a little bit, but they are the Rogue decks of choice right now that you can check out. I'll see if I can get those to you probably in the off show, or you guys can check out our deck list channel in the Discord for those. But I'll definitely be doing that today. Get my pack and get some more cards. But as you guys may know, I'm going to actually pull open my client so you may hear on the stream a few of the in-game sounds. But basically, I've still only been playing the Rumble runs as well as like trying to clear my quest log, and because of the last couple days of the week, I actually had to work 6 days this week, so I didn't get a chance to do much more while I was at work. But the decks that I have been playing in standard, because I dusted wildcards, are what I call the forehead shaman, which is Thunderhead. So forehead is the Twitch emote for those unengaged, but I'm going to turn off my in-game sounds really quick here. So basically the cards of the new set, I'm trying to see how many I have in total, is not a whole lot, but I did craft some things, and I'm currently at 56,000 dust still, and I haven't dusted cards from Naxxramas, from Naxxramas, Karasan, and League of Explorers. I have not dusted those card packs yet, or my Hall of Fame. I have all of my Hall of Fame cards, which those are like, I'm saving these for a rainy day because I'm kind of committed now. So if I ever go back, I'll dust everything and try to go from there. But I have 4 decks for Rogues built, and they're all, I think 3 out of 4 of them are missing Hook Tusk, and I might have to do that. I'm gonna delete one right now because it's a Pogo Hopper Rogue that's bad.
Dust it's a mere pittance for your large
estate. The dust goes so fast, Grant. Don't even.
Oh,
you know how fast the dust goes.
I know it does.
So I'm considering building the Dragon Warrior list that I have heard is not good. But I'm gonna hold out on that because it's not great. But hopefully it'll kind of run in the gamut. But I did build Undertaker and Undasta. I've crafted those cards so that I could play the Druid list. And I played it a little bit, but I'm not winning with it at all. So
it's hard deck.
I'm not sure what else is going on besides just like getting smashed. So I went back to playing Lickum Forehead Shaman because I only had to craft like 2 cards for that. So I was like, that's fine. And they're not like anything besides commons. And then I played a couple rogue games on opening day. I got a few more epic cards. I got a new challenger for Paladin. And I opened Jan'alai for Mage, but I don't have like any Mage cards besides him, and I have Zul'jin that I opened in a pack. So I'm considering crafting Halazi, and also Hook Tusk, so I have a little bit more options.
I like
But-
Halazi a lot. Halazi's fun.
Yeah, but large and approaching is the deck we're going to be talking about today, which I am going to have to craft cards outside of this deck list, I think.
Yeah, there's Do you want to jump into it? Do you
Yeah,
wanna
let's just
into the
jump right
list?
into it because we have all the deck lists. They've been sitting on the stream. If you've been watching the live show, they're right there.
Yeah.
If you want to check it out, we got 2 lists, one from Wicked Good and one from I already forgot. Phenom. That's
Phenom.
right.
Yeah, and the reason I posted 2 lists was because they both work, and they work for kind of slightly different reasons depending on what you're seeing in the meta. I'm going to talk about the one Wicked posted first because that's the one I've been playing. And I have played Phenoms a little bit, so I can see the pros and the cons. This list actually, in terms of like, I know Rob has mentioned missing some of the cards. It's actually not the most expensive list you can play. I mean, certainly there have been warrior lists and druid lists that have been way pricier
I've
than
noticed
this
that,
one.
yeah.
So this is sort of kind of upper middle-ish of the road in terms of dust cost. And I say that because a lot of the cards that are in here are cards that a more experienced Hearthstone player would likely have acquired. For example, Blood Mage Thalanos or Sunkeeper Tarim. If you've been playing Hearthstone consistently for the last year or 2, you probably have both those cards. But the list reads like this: 1 Righteous Protector to, well, frankly, it's a nice keep people out of your face for a turn or 2, beginning of the game. Blood Mage Thalanos for draw. Crystal Smith Kangor, which is one of those kind of unsung cards from the last set. Basically, it doubles your healing. It has Lifesteal itself and Divine Shield. Super, very, very awesome card in this deck. I don't know that it's necessary to run the deck and play the deck successfully, but it really makes things easier. To equality paired with both 2 Pyromancers and 2 Consecrations for just wiping boards, 2 Loot Hoarders for draw, Youthful Brewmaster for later in the game for cycling your Death Knights, High Priest of the Call, brand new card. Great card to play. Man, if you can drop it, it's a 3 cost. Basically, what it does, it turns your health into armor and leaves you 1 health. So if you can play it on turn 3, you can have 29 armor and 1 health and start building your health pool up, and then have like, there have been so many games where I've had 20 some odd health and 20 some odd armor before I start doing my combo, and that's incredible for Paladin. I don't think I've ever been able to do that before. Runs 2 timeouts, which basically makes your hero immune, basically like Ice Block used to be able to do. Zola the Gorgon ×1. Basically, put one of those minions in your back in your hand. 2 Ancient Brewmasters for bounce. 2 Hammers of Wrath. 2 Quicksilver Hammers of Wrath for removal and card draw. True Silver Champion ×2. 2 Call to Arms. Okay, Call to Arms is back. So if you were like me and you dusted them and didn't use them since, I actually had to craft these. It was kind of like, do I want to craft Call to
Ooh.
Arms? But I'll be honest, Call to Arms, if you're going to play this deck seriously, is worth it because it cycles your deck. You don't even care. You just Call to Arms on 5. You don't care what comes out because you're basically thinning your deck at a rapid rate. Tarim functions sometimes to actually win the game, because sometimes if you play against another slow deck, they realize what you're doing and they just let you build up tokens, and sometimes you just Tarim so you can hit them for 15. It also can stop Kingsbane Rogue. I won a game because I was able to stop a Kingsbane Rogue from hitting me, and then I could save one of my timeouts, so it bought me an extra turn to fish for a Death Knight that I couldn't get. So Tarim is pretty useful, like it always has been. The namesake of the deck, Uther the Even Blade. You don't have this card, you can't play this deck. Enough said. Uther of the Even Blade has seen almost no play except as a meme, but now it is a pretty darn good card and a pretty fun combo. And last but not least, brand new card, Shirvallah the Tiger. It's the Loa for the Paladin. Basically is a 25 cost card and reduces its cost every time you play a spell, depending on the cost of the spell. It's not uncommon to play Shirvallah for 0 when you play this deck. Very good card, has saved my bacon many times. So, Rob, feel free to chime in here so I don't just talk
Okay.
blue streak. Basically,
Well, I'll go back with the Shirvallah comments. Shirvallah gets discounted by 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 total cards in the deck. And the cards don't necessarily reduce Shirvallah by 12. That is 12 is the count of the cards, and each card is 2 mana or more. And in fact, outside of, let's see, 2, 4, 6 of the 12 cards are 2 and 3 mana, and the other 6 are 4 and 5, to give you an idea. So if you can play even 5 of these spells at a baseline, you're getting I think on average you're gonna get Shirvallah down to like probably 8 on average at the very least amount.
Easily.
So like if you're gonna like roll the dice, your low roll is you're gonna play half of your cards, which is 6, and all 6 cards are gonna be 2 or 3 mana. So that's let's see, 6 times 2 plus 2 more, so that's 7 times 2, and that's about 14. So this card ends up being 11 mana at the worst. And you haven't drawn Call to Arms, you haven't drawn Hammer of Wrath, you haven't drawn Consecration. That means that you're not there. So if you're getting this card to 11 without your high cost cards, that means like if you're still low rolling, like on average, you're gonna get it down to about 6 to 8 on a low chance. And if you're not playing, or if you're able to play Shirvallah under about 8 mana, you're probably ready to go.
Well, the thing about Shirvallah is she gets discounted whether she's in your hand or not.
Right,
and
it's in the deck
cool
and in your hand.
So if you draw her, sometimes you can draw her, and she's a 0 cost minion.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty sweet. And gosh, I can't think of very many games by the time I played her that she cost me more than a handful of mana. I mean, 2,
now,
3.
Let's comment on let's keep this ball rolling because Shirvallah is very easy to understand. Is the Phenom list that we have here, because according to my setup here, the cards that I have for both decks is I'm missing 4 for Phenom's list and 5 for Wicked Good's list. And the cards that I'm missing are Kangor and Thakal, which is in both decks.
Yeah.
And then the other cards that I'm missing are Shirvallah and
legendaries.
What's the other one? What am I?
Do you have
missing
Uther?
here? Yeah, I have Uther. So Crystal
Are you
Smith,
missing-
Kangor, High Priest Thakal. Oh, I'm actually missing 2 timeouts.
Yeah, the timeouts. But those aren't. I think those are commons, aren't they? Or rares? I can't remember.
Yeah, so maybe I'm missing 5 cards from one of these decks that I had. I
but you're
thought I
still
was
talking
missing 4.
What? 4,800 dust. 4,800 dust.
Yeah, so even though it is only a few cards, they're all legendary and they're all necessary, more or less. But the Thakal, the Thakal, I feel like is probably one of the most replaceable cards in the deck list if I'm looking at it like from purely objective.
Yeah, I mean, I think Kangor is actually more useful than Thakal. Thakal is much better early game, but honestly, I've had games where I didn't draw a lot of my heal till late game, and I played Thakal, and then I healed up real fast because you can do Thakal, you can then put Kangor down, and then do flash of light, and really save your bacon. That actually kind of helps me. Do you want to compare the Phenom list more? Or do you want to go into?
Yeah,
let's
go into comparisons and then we'll go into gameplay.
Okay.
The other thing too that is a big thing is the Youthful Brewmaster, and I'm sure you're probably going to touch on this with regards to Phenom not including it, and
I can tell you exactly why. At least he didn't tell me, but so what Phenom was thinking more, and if you look at his list is basically the same, but I'll just read it off so you can kind of hear it. He has 2 Righteous Protectors, he has 2 Doomsayers, and he has 2 Shrink Rays. That's kind of the big difference in his deck. And he subbed out the Youthful Brewmasters, and he subbed out the Hammers of Wrath, and he subbed out what else did he sub out? Blanking out a little bit here. Oh, and he subbed out Sunkeeper Tarim. He just doesn't have that. And I was thinking, well, why would you do that? Because I was having a lot of success with Wicked's deck, and I got to thinking, like, I get it. Because after playing at rank 5 for a little while, there's a lot more Druid. And with this deck, you have to plan. You can't just rely on your timeouts to save your bacon. You have to sometimes bounce Death Knights and expect to just take it in the face and lose a lot of health. So you kind of have to budget your health, which is why one of the reasons we'll get to in a minute why the deck works is because let's say Druid puts a big board of stuff out, like they put a big giant board of taunt fatties, bears and lich kings, and you're like, nope, shrink ray. But then you don't time out, you just let them hit you in the face. So they have a big board and they can do 7 damage, and you don't care because you have 25 health and 25 armor, rather than just clear your board. So that's what I think his thought was. Doomsayers are for earlier aggros, just again to buy you more time. All the cards he put in here are time buying cards. It reduces your draw a little bit. Wicked's list is a lot more draw heavy, and so it cycles you through your deck faster.
Okay.
But the case could be made that you're essentially doing the same thing, and you could also make the case that depending on what you're seeing on the ladder, Pheno's deck is better. I went 25 and 8 with Wicked's list, so both are good. I think it just depends on how you want to play the deck and what you're seeing, and then you can I think you can tech out that way. Now the question is but Brewmasters, you need to bounce those Death Knights back into your hand. It's like, yes, but Call to Arms sometimes draws your Brewmasters for you. So let's say, what do you do if does that mean game over? Does that mean you just messed up your win con? Actually, no, because you have Zola in the deck. You'll never draw Zola from a Call to Arms because she's a 3-cost card. So
you have 3 cards that can roll your guys back.
Yep.
Now
so you make sure that you.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so you just make sure that if that happens, where you just pull out your Brewmasters with Call to Arms, you just use Zola. In some ways, Brewmaster acts, the youthful Brewmaster acts as sort of a redundancy to have 4 bounce cards in your hand, and the Zola guarantees that you're going to get it. So it's sort of some people might call it overkill, but it's not that big of a deal because Phenom clearly is a good player, and he clearly was able to achieve legend status using this deck without it. So there are ways of getting around it and how you play, because sometimes it doesn't matter if you have all your bounce cards, because with decks that can refill powerfully, like a Druid can refill its deck board like right now, and you only have so many Pyromancer qualities or Consecrated qualities that you can do. So being able to shrink ray and buy yourself a turn. Oh, I see you have a big giant board. Well, they're just 1/1s now, so what do I care? You know what I mean? Now, granted, they could probably put branching paths on it, but still, that's not as bad as a branching paths with a bunch of 5/5s or 5/7s and 8/8s. So,
yeah, the other thing about this that I was noticing with regards to Phenom versus Wicked Good's list is that the Call to Arms is going to be more consistently pulling out the same things. So you have a little bit more of reliability. I'm not saying that it is more reliable. I just mean that it's more reliable in the sense of what you can expect to come out of it. And
definitely.
The reasoning behind that is that Wicked Good uses 1 Righteous Protector and 2 Brews versus the Call to Arms in the other list is pulling out 2 Righteous Protector. So it has 1 less total unit that it can pull, and it will be almost always going to be Righteous Protector, Falnos, Kangor, Loot Hoarder, and Pyro, and that's it.
Yeah, definitely.
So the other thing, too, that I want you to kind of realize with this is that there's some people saying right now that they're trying to fit in a Pixie somewhere. And again, Thakal might be that spot for people. I think some people that are looking for the budget, and I literally, while Grant was talking, I was crafting these cards and making the deck list, so I'm going to be able to try these out this week. But so I'm down to 51,000 dust, 51.4.
Just so poor.
I'm just going through it, man. It's just chugging away. I just burned through 6K, man.
Burning
it's bad.
your inheritance.
Burn my inheritance. I'm gonna be prodigal sonning this project. So basically, the Pixie can replace the Call, but not directly. It is more of a flavor replacement rather than a game plan replacement. I will say that the one thing about Wicked's list that I love the most of any card inclusions is the Hammers of Wrath, because it lets you proactively further the deck, like get into the deck, getting resources, drawing all your cards helps you win, especially if you're behind, helps you kill something a lot of the times in the mid game, and it's discounting your Shirvallah further at the same time.
Yeah.
And the Shrink Rays, honestly, like I have had these cards for a while, and I just personally don't like this card. I just don't think it's that good. The only reason this is in the deck at all And the reason, like, well, why is Shrink Ray getting played now? It's like, well, it's because it does what an Aldor Peacekeeper does, but it's getting the discount for Shirvallah because you need it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why would you run Shrink Rays when you can just run a different spell that does something more proactive and draws a card and does the same thing for 1 mana less?
Right.
I mean, I feel like Steve's like on to something there, because you go into Paladin and you type spell, and then you type 4 mana, and your options are Kings and Hammer because you're already running Consecrate, and then you type 5, and you've got Blessed Champion doubling over somebody's health, Holy Wrath, which is what people were building a completely different build around Shirvallah in the first place with Baleful Bankers, Shrink Ray, Call to Arms, which you're already running, and Level Up, which doesn't help you at all. And then the other options are Spike Ridge Steed, Avenging Wrath, and Kangor's Endless Army, which you don't have any mechs in this list, as well as a new challenger discovering a 6-cost minion, summon it with Taunt and Divine Shield, Dino Size, Lay on Hands, and Lanessa. Yeah. And while I don't mind the Kings or the Spike Ridge Steed inclusion, especially with this kind of a game plan, it kind of does help. I feel like if you're running a Spike Ridge Steed, you might as well be running both with a Lanessa at that point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, some people had been talking about whether or not, I think Phenom had a prior list that was running Spike Ridge Steed, and he said, yeah, no on that. It's just not proactive enough. Because interestingly enough, just you'd think that like decks like this where you're going to draw through your deck and you're kind of just waiting until you get your pieces. You'd think the games take a long time. They really don't. I mean, nothing. Only
it's a very fast cycle.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at how big your hand gets. But and there's a lot of things I want to say about that particular aspect. So
go ahead.
I think
let's get into the deck strats then.
I think we compare enough. So let's talk about like what the deck's designed to do. Like this is fairly obvious, and it's kind of duh. But primary goal of the deck is survive, so you can play Uther and then play a Death Knight, bounce it back into your hand, and then survive until you can just put all Death Knights on the field and kill your opponent out of hand. Okay. There's a secondary goal that sometimes you can do depending on so if you're playing a really fast deck like a rogue deck, or even sometimes a shaman deck, depending, where you can outlast their burn or their minions and they have just their top decking stuff. Once you get them into a top decking mode, you can actually just beat them with minions. You don't even need Death Knights or Uther. Uther just helps you stay alive to where you can just punch them in the face with your 5 attack weapon. So that's what your goal is. I have won quite a few games, and your tertiary goal is you just queue into warriors all the time. They realize they can never beat you and they just concede.
Because their goal is to survive, and you're just like, I'm going to kill you without armor.
I've played I don't think I've lost to any warriors ever with this deck. And there's been a few. Well, the only ones that have a chance are like Rush Warriors, where they can build a decent board. And if I don't have an answer to clear their board, but if I can clear their board even once or twice, they just don't have the volume of threats and the redundancy of like resummoning it to do anything to me. So yeah, Warriors like almost a 90% win rate in general. Mulligan is tricky with this deck, I think, because what do you want to keep? Because you have all this removal and all this draw. What do you go for? Do you go for removal or do you go for draw? So I kind of, in my opinion, and Rob, feel free to contradict me or to challenge anything I say.
Ooh, contradictions.
I know. I in the always keep. I always keep the call, the guy that turns your health into armor. I always keep Call to Arms. I always keep Righteous Protector, and I always keep Loot Hoarder. I sometimes keep the Death Knight if I pull it in my opening mulligan, and I sometimes keep Equality, like depending on the matchup. So like Equality can save your bacon against an even Warlock. Any deck that can drop a big giant fatty on like turn 3, 4, 5, you kind of want to keep Equality just so you can handle it, because you don't need to be getting hit for 16 over 2 turns before you even have a chance to get your combo off.
Right.
Versus aggro decks, I tend to keep Pyromancer and anything that's a board clear. Oftentimes I'll keep True Silver Champion or Hammer of Wrath, just depending on what kind of like a faster hunter deck. I want something to be able to get rid of their animal companions and things like that.
Right.
Versus control, I always keep the Uther DK. If I even smell it's a control deck, like for example, if I think it's a paladin deck, I'll probably keep it.
All right.
Because odd paladin's probably just going to dumpster me anyways, because I can't keep clearing their board. If it's going to be against Druid, I keep it, even though Token Druid is a bad matchup because they can just keep cycling their board back. So those decks, I keep it just based on like that's the only way I'm going to beat the big Druids, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Against Warrior, it's just like if I have the DK in hand against Warrior, they're just never going to have a chance. And it feels good to say that. And I always keep Called Arms against. I keep Called Arms pretty much without question against a control deck, or that could be a control deck. I may not always. If it's a rogue, I probably wouldn't. I don't know if I'll keep it.
Okay.
Just because I need to be trying to put minions on the board, and that kind of helps. But turn 5, if I have a bunch of like 4 or 5 cost cards in my hand, I'm not doing good, and I'm probably going to lose. So I want to keep 2 drops against rogue and against fast board, so not Call to Arms.
Because I'm playing against a Secret Hunter while we're talking here to see how it goes.
Secret Hunter's a good matchup. Just do nothing. Just don't pop their secrets.
That's kind of what I've been doing. The only secrets that I'm popping are just the things that they have on the board. And he's not clearing Kangor, and I triggered a rat trap, and I have an equality and a timeout, so I literally just don't have I just drew Tareem. So
Feels
basically,
bad,
I'm just kind of waiting him out, and I have Kangor on the board, and I'm healing for 4 with my with what's it called? The stink. Oh,
Flash
he just freezing trapped my Kangor. Not bad.
Oh, that's not a big deal. So so why does this deck all of a sudden show up as a viable ladder deck? In my opinion, why is it that people can hit ledge with it? Why is it? And I'll give you the reasons. Because it's been around since Night of the Frozen Throne dropped. I'll give you 4 reasons or 3 reasons, or 4 reasons: the call, Flash of Light, timeout, and Shirvallah. The expansion, as we have it now, has single-handedly made the deck possible and the reasons is you can have a possibility for greater than 30 health with the call,
right?
Like reasonably greater, like in the 40s or 50 health. Flash of Light, Rob, you were dead on. It is a very good card.
Card's insane.
4 heal, especially if you combine it with Kangor. 8 health plus draw a card for 2 mana. Deal, if you have Kangor down. And timeout, a planned ice block is awesome. I think it's better than ice block because it only costs 3 mana. I think it's actually better than ice block because you can run 2.
And you can use it on your turn, which I didn't really realize a lot of how this card was going to interact. But you can run this, and then you can hit something with your weapon and be immune, and then you
still get health.
Draw into fatigue on your turn, and then you can go to your next turn. And if they make you draw, then you don't lose anything either.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Shirvallah is a heal on a stick, basically, right?
Yeah, more or less.
And Shirvallah, my favorite thing to do, especially like against a close match or like hunters will oftentimes get you down, is Shirvallah. Right at this point in time, sometimes you just got to survive. Shirvallah, pop their freezing trap with Shirvallah, have your 0 cost Shirvallah go back into your hand and cost 0, and then do it again and get healed. So you pop the secret for nothing because you can Zola Shirvallah and get 14 health. And a lot of times they can't do anything about that. So Zola kind of really helps this deck a lot too. It kind of gives you some kind of a plan B in order to make sure your Death Knights are working.
Mm-hmm.
So I think those cards by themselves have made this deck possible.
So Grant, tell me about when Uther's in the bottom 10.
It happens a lot, actually. I've had it happen quite a few times. I mean, you just have to very carefully plan your removal. So when you're playing the game, the thing you kind of have to plan for is that you're going to have to use both timeouts. It pretty much always happens. Sometimes you have to use a timeout just to buy you time to get you a heal up. Like, okay, I can't take any damage now because next turn I can heal, or next turn I can get out Shirvallah or something.
Mm-hmm.
But almost always, in order to get enough turns to get 3 Death Knights into your hand, you're going to have to take some damage to the face. And you have to plan around taking that damage, because if you can take damage like one turn where they just like punch you down and they get you to like 10 to 15 health, and you would die the next turn, but you just take it, but you still bounce your Death Knight and stuff like that. That's what you want to be planning around. That's like the big thing you got to do. Now that means that your removal needs to be used very wisely. You can't just think, well, okay, well, this is a board that looks kind of scary, so I'm going to get rid of it. You have to think, okay, this is a scary board. is this going to kill me now if I let it sit? Or can I wait a turn before I clear it? Because sometimes an opponent will present a scary enough board to you, and they'll assume that if you have the clear, you'll clear it. And then you don't, they start going, well, do they have the clear or not?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then they might overcommit, and then in which case you actually bought yourself more time. Because I played an even lock today where I did that. I was
Okay.
like, all right, I'm gonna let him hit me in the face with the giant. I'm gonna wait. And then he committed a couple more demons. I think he committed the what's the 7/7 with taunt? I keep blanking out, but he committed that to the board and a couple other things. I'm like, equality consecrate. And then the following turn he did nothing. He had nothing else. And so it bought me a turn and I ended up beating him. So you have to use your removable wisely. So if you're running Phenoms list, you might say, well, against a Warlock, you know, that those board full of 1/1s is great because they don't have any buffs, they don't have any branching paths and stuff like that. So that buys you a lot of time. So that's what a pro and con on that particular card. But you always have to basically plan on trying to get enough health to where you can take a turn while you're trying to cycle your Death Knights to take a lot of damage without using a timeout.
I
So
see.
uh, yeah, and that's the same with Hunter too. Hunter, you'll do that a lot. Rogue, you'll do that a lot with. Um, the matchups that I found to be very good, like were like I'm happy to see. Like yes, is we just mentioned Warrior. Warrior just can't do anything to you, especially if they're an odd Warrior. It's like, oh, you're gonna armor up. That's all nice. Your armor's not gonna do anything
Well,
because
I
when
will
my Death
say
Knights
that
explode you.
even though we are supposed to be favored with the Hunter, I still lost to it. And I'm not quite sure what it was that went wrong. Like when you're running this particular list, I understand like you're kind of not supposed to do anything, but like they do a lot of damage to you just by virtue of like
Hero power.
getting through everything and like
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe I definitely had a couple plays where I'm like, I'm not quite sure when to play this, and I know I need to dump my hand so I can draw more cards. Is that a common issue where you're like, my hand is too full, I need to know what to drop? So can we talk a little bit about like what I want to drop into the game?
Yeah. So there's oftentimes especially on the slower matchups like Warrior and a lot of times Hunter, like Secret Hunter. Not if you're not popping their secrets, a lot of times they're not doing anything unless they drop their wolves, right? So what you want to do is you want to play around a big wolf's turn. So
Because I
that
lost
and
basically to Zul'jin, more or less. I was kind of on the front foot until they dropped
mhm.
Zul'jin on curve.
Yeah, Zul'jin can be a problem. So you have to kind of hand read. You kind of have to play around. It's like secrets, just don't pop them. I found that I don't like I
Even the
don't
rat
like putting
traps, because
minions
those
down.
popped up like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, you have to play around Wrap Trap because if you get a 6/6, it's gonna force you because they can just keep hitting you with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because unless you have an exact response to it, like maybe I might be okay with popping it if I have a decent board. But see, the problem is if they've had a lot of time to put secrets down, there's a good option that a good bet that they're going to put down explosive trap, and most of your minions are weenie minions. They're going
Mm-hmm.
to die to the explosive trap.
Okay.
So I always play around Wrap Trap. I don't let those guys get on the board unless I know beyond the shadow of a doubt I can handle it. So it has to be like I'm going to pop your Rat Trap and get rid of it. But then by expending my removal, he can just drop his board full of wolves, and then I can't do anything to him.
Okay.
Early board of wolves loses the game.
Now,
You just can't unless you have the removal for it, which is
okay.
why I would mulligan for removal for that card.
So now I'm running against a rogue, and I have a really odd question. I'm not going to do it because
Sure.
they're killing it right now, but I'm also wondering if there's any chance of running this deck where you can Zola or should Zola or Brewmaster your Thakal if you get it early.
No, I never Brewmaster the call
Okay.
because I mean you could, but a 3/4 is something that can do some work for like kind of managing their minions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the biggest misplays I see with this deck is I see people like you put minions out and they start trading with the minions. If you know it's an OTK Paladin deck, just ignore their minions and go for it. Unless you're worried about like those minions
Chip
turning into
damage.
3/3s. The chip damage matters because you have to get the Paladin down because like I said, you have to they in order to make the deck work, you kind of have to have a turn where you just take a bunch on the chin while you're cycling a Death Knight, and then using your timeouts later to guarantee that it can happen.
Hmm.
So like if you put up some, it's not uncommon to have 3 minions on board, and I've seen them like trade into a like a dude, like trade a 3/3 body into a 1/1 just to trade it. It's like, why did you do that? Oh well, I guess I'm just gonna beat you now because you just gave me 3 health effectively.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not cycle the call. I've never cycled the call. Because the call late game can actually even be good because it's not unheard of to get low and then heal back up, depending on what kind of threats they can present. So play at the call early, play at the call late. It doesn't matter as long as you have some kind of healing that you have coming down the pike because it just substitutes your health out is all it does. And it's a 3/4 body.
Okay.
So I wouldn't cycle it. The only thing I ever cycle or bounce into my hand is maybe Shirvallah because Shirvallah doesn't cost anything when you really want to use her.
Gotcha.
And I like using her to pop freezing traps if I know there's one there. And I also like using her against Hunter to pop snipes. Because like imagine this. Imagine you're late game, you got all your pieces. The Hunter has a Christmas tree full of secrets. And then you go to drop your first Death Knight and you've already used all your timeouts. What's gonna happen to that Death Knight? Because it's a minion from hand now. It's gonna get sniped and you're gonna lose.
Ooh.
So against a hunter, especially a hunter, I'm gonna actually save a minion when I'm about to combo off and drop that first because Shirvallah can cost 0, right? So I'll let it hit the shield, pop the block, and I had it happen one time. I'm like, hey, I'm so clever. Pops the shield, doesn't even hurt it. I can still get health, and then I just put my Death Knights down, and we're good. Speaking of which, make sure that if you have a handful of Death Knights, if you have 3 individual ones, play those 3 first, and then hero power. Then you'll guarantee to get the 4th one.
Gotcha.
It will not duplicate a Death Knight. That's very important, and a lot of people mess it up. Is it possible to play a Death Knight, put it in your hand, and then next turn play the hero powder and get the same one? Yes, that happens. It happens. I had one game where I think I did it like 4 or 5 times before I ended up winning. Don't know how I won the game, but it does happen, and it's just one of the risks of playing the deck, which is why people are thinking about putting the Pixie in. Because if you have 2 different Death Knights, you put those down, you play Pixie. So you 2 different Death Knights, hero power, you'll get a different one, play Pixie, hero power, you win. So that's a way of guaranteeing it. So you only have to have 2 Death Knights in hand with Pixie. So that's an advantage.
Okay.
So that's because it will not duplicate anything that you already have on the board.
Interesting.
But if you have it in hand, it will duplicate. I think one time I got High Inquisitor white mane. Yeah, white mane like 3 times in a row. It's like, what the heck? How am I rolling this? And make sure that you read their names carefully because they tend to sound the same when you're kind of in a hurry. So what was I gonna say? Hunter, when I play against Secret Hunter, I play as slow as I can. I don't pop their secrets. Rexar is the worst enemy because Rexar can start creating big giant bodies that you can't do anything about if you've already like swept their board. If they can get a board full of wolves on 2 or 3 times, it's really hard to deal with. But hopefully by that time, you already got Uther and you're already like rolling out Death Knights and stuff like that. I beat Hunter way more often than I lose the Hunter. The decks that really screw this deck over are decks that can populate a board, wipe it, and populate it again. Kind of the way the
Death Rattle Rogue.
Death Rattle Rogue would be tough. Although that deck doesn't really show up very much in standard.
That's what's killing me right now. I'm at 19.
Is it?
And
the Pogo
got
one?
to use the call. What's that?
Is it the Pogo one?
No, this has got like it had Myra in it, and Myra pulled Devilsar Egg, and I had Sonya, and they killed their own Myra, and like they've got like a bunch of stuff. I'm basically just not killing them on the board right now. And I want to play Consecrate, but they have a mechanical whelp, so I'm kind of just like waiting it out. I could totally Shirvallah this board, but it's too expensive right now, and I have 3 Brewmasters in hand and a Zola, and again, I have 13 cards left, and I still don't have anything to deal with.
Death Rattle decks are really hard because like I played Death Rattle Hunter. Death Rattle Hunter is hard because Death Rattle Hunter, you don't want to wipe their board because it's just going to come back with something worse than what you cleared.
Yeah,
because they're using the ooze again. That ooze, that slimy guy that like copies a Death Rattle of a minion in your deck.
Right.
And so, it's like you clear their board only to have a worse board that's a really hard matchup. That's a really unfavored matchup. So any deck that can do that, which is what Druid can do, so they can put a board full of 1/1s, and then like Whispering Woods, and then they'll put the tree ants on that summon on Death Rattle. You can't do anything about that unless you can like cycle a lot of spells with your Pyromancer, but that's not great either because the spells you would need to cycle are either too expensive to really get the job done, or you would have to you don't have enough mana to cycle that many to do the job you need to do. So Token Druid flat out rolls this deck. Death Rattle Hunter rolls this deck pretty bad. You can beat it. Don't give up the ship just because if they draw bad, then they don't have any of their
Ugh, I think I
copy
just
stuff.
lost.
You probably did. So I mean,
Uh,
deck is good. If you're seeing a lot of control, deck is good. Deck can wreck people. It for the last couple of days for me, it's been feast and famine. Like I'll win 5 in a row and then I'll lose 3 in a row. So you just got to not get discouraged. Got to know your matchups. You got to make sure you don't try to get them to try to bait out more so your removal is worth more. Try to manage your health, manage your hand size. Managing your hand size is really, really, really tricky. Some of the games where I lost,
might just come back. I just Zolid Shirvallah, and I just gained 14 and killed 2 of his 7/7s, and now I'm at 21.
Oh,
This game might be
yeah.
okay, and I just top decked Uther, so we might be in business.
Yeah, that's how the deck can do that. The deck can come
Oh,
back.
he just walked the plank. No, and Vile Spine. Oh gosh, disaster.
Vile Spine's a thing, and this is not an odd rogue. I'm taking it right.
No, this is yeah.
So here's one of the reasons why I play this deck, because one, I hate Shutterwalk decks. I do. I also really, really don't like Kingsbane decks, and this deck just dumps on those two. Because Shutterwalk, I played a guy who had Shutterwalk, and I had all the Death Knights in my hand. Guy Shutterwalks and decides to play all 10 Shutterwalks at 1/1. He had 10 1/1 Shutterwalks in his hand, and he decided to play all of them. It took me 10 minutes to get through his turn.
Wow. 10-minute turns.
It was a 10-minute turn, at least. It might have been longer.
Oof.
But, confirmation by them. So I'm sitting there just watching it go, and I'm spamming, I will show you no mercy. I'm just spamming all the hate emotes I can, just because I'm sitting there going, you are dead. You can't hurt me. Your 10 Shutterwalks can do nothing to me because I had immune up, and I had all 4 Death Knights sitting in my hand. I was just like, you are just being a jerk right now. It's like Uther's threat is, you will beg for mercy, and I will show you none. I'm like, yes.
Well, he just set me to 1 because he had another thing. The bottom 8 cards I had were equalities. I think that's what really cost me in this game.
Yeah. Board-centric decks got to have the removal. Even I keep equality just because you have 4 options to do stuff with it, right? And if you need to get rid of a Mountain Giant, you have 6 with Holy Wrath.
So what we're really trying to say here is that if you're not getting what you're trying to get at certain points in the game and you're running up against a lot of Death Rattle stuff, this isn't the deck you should be playing. Or you just keep queuing and hopefully you dodge them, because they're not going to be that common. Like I just queued in a deck that was more or less like a deck recipe. And then also another thing with regards to the Death Rattle Rogue, it's just like, oh, I've never seen that. It's like, well, I'm at rank 17, 16, 15, so the rules aren't going to apply. And you have to keep in mind that there's a good chance that you're still learning the deck yourself. And if you're just like, oh, I just dropped like 2 games and I can't play the deck and I just spent 4,000 dust on it, doesn't feel good. That's true, but it doesn't mean that it's a bad deck. It just means that there's significant things that beat you, and you just happen to queue in them, and you're also learning the deck at the same time. And so I'm kind of like, this is Grant describing the deck, and me kind of like telling you what it's like playing it live on the show without like showing you the screen. That there is a lot of nuance here, and also this is also a deck that fits the style of play that Grant and I both like to play. It's very Johnny deck, which means it's very much like gives you a lot of meaningful decisions to make, gets you lots of positions where you're like, I wonder if I could tinker with this deck list, or I could tinker with how I want to maneuver my turns. Almost every turn you have a lot of different approaches, especially in the mid game, in the late game. And then you have a couple different game plans that you're trying to micromanage in your head, like the Shirvallah game plan, the deck drawing engine, and the hand management game where you're managing what you have in your hand and also interacting with what your opponent is doing. And then last and foremost is the how do I win game, which is getting all of the right Death Knights in hand to play them out, and also understanding ordering with regards to that, like Grant was describing at the very end there. So
Yeah.
all in all, this deck is really, really cool at a base level. And it's kind of like build your own Christmas tree and Shirvallah for taste. That's why we came up with the whole thing, right? So
yeah, it's not everybody's kind of deck, but like,
right.
Sometimes you just want to play hate decks against some of the stuff that has caused you anxiety and anger on the ladder. And sometimes
wrong.
you get lucky when you're like, man, it's really good against, Kingsbane Rogue. It's really good against Shadowwalk, and it dumps on Warrior, and it dumps on Secret Hunter. And, if you play it adeptly, you can steal some of those games against Zoo. Like, it actually does pretty good against Zoo. Like Zoo and very
I can actually
board-centric
see that
decks.
after playing a couple games, because once you starve them out of resources, they're just killing themselves slowly, and then you can kind of flip the switch some point. You don't even need to worry about Uther.
Nope,
because your whole deck is just survival, and once they run out of resources, they're tapping into it, right? So
it is interesting, like with Zoo decks, like they tap so much that by the time you get Uther out, you have enough heal and sustain in
you just hit them with the weapon, and they're dead.
Just hit them with the weapon, and they're done. They usually concede by the time that if it gets too late in the game. I mean, and that's the thing about this deck.
It's a 10 health swing when you play Uther, so it's nothing to sneeze at, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 10 health swing if you have Kangor out. Oof,
it's brutal.
That's the best, dude. Uther, save your weapon depending if you can, and then Kangor, and then do Flash of Light plus that if you have all the armor. Oh,
yeah,
that's
just pretty nasty.
GG.
Also, I had Kangor down with just simply using a what's the weapon? The True Silver. That's pretty nuts. Going 4 damage for basically nothing. You don't take any damage. It's literally turns your True Silver into kill 2 things for 0 if you're killing something with 4 attack or more or less. So it's pretty good.
We talk about chip damage. Like let's invert it. Say chip healing. Chip healing can.
It's really aggravating.
I won a game the other day with 1 health. Like I managed my stuff, and I was like, well, I used both timeouts. I'm pretty sure he can't kill me. He's gonna have 1 health on the board, and I was right. He didn't have what he needed.
Well, it has to do with the whole incremental thing, right? Remember when we talked about this like months and months ago about incremental damage? We're talking about Zoo lists and Tempo lists. Incremental damage is why you preserve minions, especially with the regards to our shaman guide that we had a month ago. We were talking through incremental damage and saying, well, I want to make sure that these minions can stay alive, so I'm going to hit myself with my weapon and take the damage for me so that my minions survive, and that this 1 or 2 damage minion is going to do 2 or 4, incrementally over turns. But that's why cards like Ice Block or Timeout become much more aggravating, because the incremental damage that they're getting is 0. The minions that they've preserved do nothing for 1 of the incremental turns, so you're effectively cutting their damage in half for a stage. And it's even better when you're able to remove things for nothing, like i.e. having a 7 mana timeout plus a True Silver turn, or even timing out into Uther is pretty gross because you're getting a bunch of health on top of timing out the previous time, and you're able to remove something. So just keep in mind, like, this deck is not for the faint of heart is with regards to your dust and your mind space. If you're not in a place where you are like actively like, I'm going to just play this deck because I'm tilted, it's like you're probably not going to be in a good space to be playing the deck to begin with. This is a very relaxing deck, very much methodical, very modular, as Grant loves to say when decks come up that are in his ballpark, because if they're not modular, they're not really that interesting to him.
They're not more modular than they're boring.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
But you could argue any deck in the game is modular to a certain extent.
And if you're in the Discord or you're on Twitter or you want to spectate, I'm going to be playing this deck a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we're gonna do after this. If I can interrupt real quick, we're gonna actually do on stream. I'm gonna put this on our YouTube page as well. After the stream, Grant and I are gonna do 1 game, and maybe more depending on how he's feeling, and we'll do it together on stream and talk it through, and then we'll kind of call the day. But this will not be on the audio portion because it doesn't. It's too long of an episode after that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But Grant, is there anything else that you want to say? Final thoughts here, or words to the wise? I tried to like cover a couple more of our bases as we kind of finish up the guide here.
No, I mean, like, it's an expensive deck in terms of the amount of legendaries you need. I think a lot of the legendaries are really important for the deck. Make sure that if you want to play it, that you kind of commit to playing it for more than just a few games, because I think there's a lot of ins and outs to think about in order to win with this deck, and you can't just win with it by picking it up. And if you do win with it, there could be many reasons for it. I think there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of decision making, and it's like Rob said, it's very relaxing. You don't have to. You're not moving. You're not clicking a lot. You're just kind of thinking about it. You might do nothing. No, there's a lot of turns where you just actually just do nothing. You think, I'm not gonna play anything, and you just pass turn. So, but yeah, if you want any questions, hit me up on the internet, and we'll talk.
And Wicked Good is also a great resource because he did come up with the deck list. So please ask him. All right, guys, that's going to do it. If you want to look for the deck code, it is in the description and on the website. So don't at me. Just check it out. Look at the website, please. Furthermore, you can support our show over at Patreon. Again, patreon.com/VelenChosen is helping us keep the lights on, keep things moving, keep the website up, keep our deck lists somewhat full, and put us on these weird projects that I'm on when we want to. We also have a iTunes feed that has gone silent for another week. If you guys want to give us a little bit more love in the respect of the show without necessarily just listening, you can go to itunes.com and find our show and leave us a review with your account. You can also connect with us on various websites like Discord, Twitter, and other in our website, of course. You can find all of that on VelenChosen.com. Grant, where can people find you and Eve? Why don't you take the whole gamut there for you two?
Show. If you want to find myself, you can find me on Twitter at WatchmanHS. That's where I am the most vocal. If you want to have lengthier conversations, jump in the Discord. You can find the link there on our website, VelenChosen.com. If you want to find our wonderful friend Eve Martin, you can find her at Twitter, Lore Master Eve. Master is missing the E. So just Lore, MASTR, Eve. You can friend her on Battle.net. Same thing, Lore Master Eve, hashtag 1974. And if you want to check out her other podcast called Knights of Lore, where they talk about lore of various different universes in the video game sphere, you can check it out. It's really good.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at the tag NotRob. You can find my Overwatch podcast talking about stats and Ash and the meta shifting this week with Omnic Meta's Switch at not omnicmeta.com, because that's his website, but he just rolled out a brand new thing for mobile, and he's going to be doing some stat testing there with his stat test website. You can also check out Omnic Lab as the podcast there. Shout out to my D&D group for having a really fun murder mystery session last night with regards to what we're doing in the campaign. And also shout out to Steven Sensei, who's putting together a new podcast that had its episode 0. If you want more details about that, please find Steven Sensei in our Discord. He'll tell you all about it. It's basically a brand new arena-based show teaching basics of arena. So pretty cool stuff with him and Shirvallah. They've been community members for a while, and it's really exciting to see them starting creating. Please check that out. And we're going to jump into the end of the show here. So remember, not all who wander are lost. We'll see you guys next week, and we have a special guest, so you're not going to want to miss it. See ya. All right, we're going to stop our recordings here.
Okay, stop.
And I'm going to export this before I forget, just in case I need to close it. And we're going to jump into a different scene, and we're going to open Hearthstone and play a game with the deck.
Sure. Which one are we playing?
We'll play Steve.
You want to share? You want to share your screen?
You want to shave? No, I don't want to shave.
Shave the screen.
Never. Yeah, I can share screen in Discord if that helps you. If you'd rather do that.
Fine.
Okay. So let's change the scene here. As I open Hearthstone again, I closed it towards the end of the show there, after I lost those 2 games fairly miserably. I mean, after the 5th time I have a 7/7 hit the board, and like the 6th Devil Sar hit the board. I mean, he played Myra on tempo and then played Sonya into backstab it and then played it again. And I was just like, I was like, I top decked a really nice like on curve. What's the, gosh dang it, what's the guy that makes everything 3/3?
Tareem.
Tareem, yeah, I played a Tareem and that saved my bacon a little bit. But man, those cold bloods in that deck are deadly.
Cold Bloods can brush you down pretty quick.
Okay, I'm going to get rid of this cam border. So there's not going to be any cameras, but we'll boot this up here. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. Grant, you should be able to see that. Turn the volume up for the stream a little bit. Okay.
All right. Can you hear me okay still?
Yeah. You're good. I just can't see chat, so I want to move that over now. Sorry I didn't get the episode title of it out, Steven, but we'll get it there eventually. If you get us something formal, like a
I
elevator
can
pitch.
do one game, and then I'm going to call it tonight because I'm going to go hang out with my wife.
Yep. So we'll do one
See,
game and
she's
call
been
it even here, guys.
Yeah. I'd
like
be happy
Andrew's
to sit in another time. Cream puff.
smashing. All my friends are playing in Overwatch right now.
Yeah.
I realize I
I've been
probably
playing a
shouldn't have
lot of
shown that. That's
I have like 85 hours on Widowmaker.
oh gosh.
That's kind of dumb.
I
I'm
would
getting better.
be afraid to total all of the Widowmaker hours for Andres because he plays a lot. All right, so we queued into the good matchup, like you
Hopefully.
said.
It could be a good matchup if it's.
So I'm wanting to throw all this away except for the Righteous Protector.
Yeah.
Maybe keeping this.
Well, let's think about this a minute. Are we worried about? I think we want to contest board. So if it's a secret hunter, we don't have to worry about contesting board. So let's throw away the flash.
Hang on a second. It says stream
Hello,
Hearthstone?
world.
Oh, you can't see my cursor. That's weird. So we're gonna throw it away.
Yeah, throw it away.
Okay. Yeah, you can't see my cursor, can you?
Nope.
Concede.
Doesn't really
Just kidding.
matter. Ooh.
Oh wow,
like
this is
we
the
got
first
the
time I've
death
actually had him early
I would actually save the Righteous Protector for a turn to see
when
what
he actually
does.
has something.
Yeah. Because sometimes you just need the Righteous Protector to slow down the damage. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to.
Mhm.
You don't want to. Like you could put it out there and just do nothing because you don't. There's no point in having a minion against a Secret Hunter. But maybe you want
Right.
it to stop like a Devil Store that's going to hit you in the face or a King Crush that he can't do anything about. You know what I mean? Or maybe the King Crush still hits you, but maybe he only hits you once instead of twice. All right, well, he did that. That's a
Yeah,
thing.
looks like stream can see my stuff here, so I'm gonna drop this guy for sure.
Yeah, totally loot hoarder. And save the Blood Mage Thalnos. Maybe in case he drops wolves, you can just clear it with the Thalnos into Consecration. You know?
I think that I've been using this card much too proactively.
Yeah.
The games that I was playing, I probably should have saved them for my Consecrates. But again, in the second game in particular, like Death Rattle stuff is just a pain in
Yeah.
the butt for this deck.
Yeah.
Because you have to just like clear the board 2 times, and I didn't draw any of my equalities, which is just a big mess.
So I think now we start asking ourselves, why is he not doing anything? See, he hasn't.
My
played a
guess is
secret.
because
He
he's
hasn't
gonna
played a minion.
play
I think this is a Death
Rattle
hunter, 'cause
list.
He's gonna have a big swing turn.
So I kind of want to play
So-
these 2 together and just start dumping hand.
Yeah, it'd probably be good. We can probably reasonably do that now. That way, if we can like pop an egg if we need to.
Yeah, and then I have this,
that-
right?
Mm-hmm. So you can pop an egg with 2 minions, face tank the Devil Sword, and then trade your little guy, your Silverhand Recruit into it.
There's the flanking
Okay.
strike.
All right. Okay. Fine. That doesn't bother us at all because we'll just clear it with the true hand or true
Yeah,
silver,
that's
and
pretty easy.
that's pretty easy.
Turn plays itself when you have 2 of them, especially.
So he did that. That means he doesn't have any. He's got no low cost cards.
Could
Everything's
just be
high,
a
and he's
spell
probably
hunter,
wi-
and he drew really crappy.
He could have.
It
In which
also
case
could
we're
be
gonna
deck
just win.
recipe hunter, and also rank 18 hunter. Could be anything.
It's true. Oh, that's dumb. Oh, good thing you have another one.
Okay, well, that's interesting.
Okay.
So I'm thinking
Let's
I
think
just
this through here a minute.
play the other one of these and
Yeah,
kill
I'll
this.
just- Whatever you want, yeah.
And then go ahead and clear this guy.
Yeah.
And then the following turn, I can Kangor and hit for 4 to get like.
Yeah, you don't. I
health
wouldn't
back.
Kangor. I wouldn't Kangor yet. Kangor's a lot better to play with the healing light. Ooh, ooh la la. Well,
Oh, here we go.
I would drop that because yeah, that's what I would do. Definitely. Oh yeah,
Gosh.
ninja time. So if I would still clear that high main. Because you can get that back later.
Because we'll get it back with the Kangor flash, right?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And now he can't leave that board there, especially if he's a board-centric deck. He's got to do something about that.
We also just don't want him activating it because he could just be sitting on a bunch of play deads.
Oh. Okay, this sucks. Because he's gonna basically have a 6/4.
Oh.
Oh no. Oh, that sucks a lot. That's what he was waiting on.
Okay.
That's what he was waiting on. Okay, so hopefully we can get into some equality stuff here. Well, we'll see. Let's see what he does. This is where we have to start thinking really carefully about if we draw some. Let's see if we can get. Yeah, that's what he was waiting for the whole time. He was waiting for us to get a big board. That's what he was wanting us to do. So we played neatly into his trap.
Ooh,
well, that's good. We don't have any clear.
So what I'm thinking is now that I have the equality, I go ahead and play Thalnos timeout.
Well, I would let's see. Let me see here. So you have can't mouse. I keep mousing on your cards. So Kangor, let's see.
Because if I get Thalnos, I have 2 shots at drawing. But if I do Kangor, because like I don't want to take a bunch of damage. I want to time out this turn.
Yeah, because you can't recover from it with this hunter. So yeah, I think timeout's the right play.
So we'll do that first.
Thalnos, do that first. Make sure you.
Now, do we want to do we want to heal for 8, or do we want to Thalnos?
Well, Thalnos now, because that way you can get the card draw, and then you can still heal next turn if you need to. And I'd put another dude down just cause.
Okay.
In case for some reason. They're gonna clear your board.
If he has another Unleash, that's really good for us.
That sucks. That sucks a lot.
No, we're okay. We have 7 mana.
Yeah. That's right.
We only need 6 anyways, and we're gonna get it. Okay, well, there's a Shirvallah.
So are we never punished? Come on, well.
Okay.
Oh gosh. Well,
so I'm gonna do that, and then.
Yeah, I think you have to. You're dead if you don't.
Do I wanna coin and heal?
Well. Yeah, I think you kind of have to. You should get 8. Okay.
Okay.
Anything up. Well, you don't have a pyromancer. You're fishing for consecrate.
I'm literally looking for consecrate, and I haven't used any yet, so it's a 1 and 6.
You might get some extra health because he'll probably trade 2 guys. But it doesn't matter. You're dead either way if you don't.
I'm only gonna get 4 health if he kills anything into this.
Yeah, consecrate is the only way we.
But am I actually dead? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12.
Oh, never punished. Gorgeous. Never punished. Never punished.
To be fair, a 1 and 6 is pretty good odds.
Yes.
And he fully committed into it.
Yeah, he fully committed. He'll probably concede now.
Oh, yeah. And we got 1 more turn till we get the Uther business.
You can Shirvallah next, whatever. If he puts a fatty out, you can Shirvallah that crap.
That's going to be the tilter.
Well, let's see here. Can you Shirvallah it, or do you want to just wait a turn?
No, I want to do it. This is payback.
Never
now he's got
punished.
nothing. His whole deck is basically revolving around exploding and doing that.
In this particular deck, I would actually I'd swing face on the next minion and then Zola Oh yeah, that's what I was worried about. It's okay. He's not gonna touch you.
I mean, I have this, so
Yep. Uther.
no, I don't like your armor. Doink. Doink.
Why did you... Yeah, dude. Yeah, you're gonna
Yeah, we did it.
That's you see, that's the secondary win con. Survive and eventually they'll run out of stuff.
Yeah, the Shirvallah was the BM, let's be honest.
Yeah, it was. There you
Well,
go,
that was
man.
cool. That was cool. Look at all these deck lists that are missing cards. You want to see what these cards are missing? I'm pretty sure they're only missing Hook Tusk, but
There's
I can show these out for you
51,000
guys that
plus.
are wanting to know tinkering. So basically, this is 29 cards, and it's missing Hook Tusk. But look, it's got Spirit of the Sharks, Sonya, and then Keleseth in it. So it's basically a tempo rogue
I like
with
me some Tempo Rogue.
Spirit of the Shark for your combos and your battle cries with Fungalmancers. Like setting up a Spirit of the Shark into a Fungalmancer, giving you +4/+4 to 2 minions and making a 0/3
That's
a
dumb.
4/7 minion is insane. And then you got
That's dumb.
Ziliax for heal and Vilespine.
Hmm.
This is the only card in the deck that sucks with Shark, I think. And Leroy being a meme, but let me tell you, the amount of times that you just play like if you got this in Spirit of the Shark, it's pretty nuts because you can just play Shark on 4 and then play like Firefly, Fire Elemental, Van Cleef.
Mm-hmm.
And that's 2, 4, 6, 12. That's a 12/12 Van Cleef for 3 cards. It's like insane. And Corpse Taker's pretty nutty.
I've been dusted by some Van Cleefs this week, so
So this one's from Board Control. And
yeah.
this one is the Monsanto one. This is the crazy tempo list with cannons. So this is more pirate centric with shark fins and acidic and toxicologists. And vicious scalehide is only in here for corpse takers. So the weird thing about the deck is if you draw this, like in your mulligan, you just throw it out, and hopefully you can get your digging for corpse takers on tempo. And then walk the plank into Cursed Castaways, and you can actually win games with just Corpse Takers if you play it properly. But it's even.
Yep.
It's an even rogue, which is weird.
Yeah, I believe it.
And last
All
is
right.
this one from Zillet.
Yeah, I
This
think I
is
might have seen this one.
Pure nuts. This is the card that's got me like skeptical, but Hat loves it. Because
I
basically
think it's a good card.
chucking it instead of Kingsbane, and then you're running more minions and amalgams. But anyways, that's going to do it for the stream, folks. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Fortune Hunter, for the Twitch Prime sub. That was great. And Dragon Sage, since you have Leroy put in Ticket Scalper, you can guarantee the overkill. I will pass on that because the overkill doesn't matter when they're dead.
All right.
So we'll see you guys next time. Adios, everyone.